guys, I'm here today to do my May reading wrap up. I will admit, this was a difficult month, and I think it was because I really wanted to read everything before BEA and BookCon, and I had a hard time choosing what I wanted to read, and I had some unexpected books that I must have read because the girl I was rooming with at BEA and BookCon was very, very like, you have to read these books before you see me. So it kind of threw my TBR off, and I was just like, I could not figure out what I wanted to read in like a timely fashion. So I think like I just took a long time deciding what I wanted to read, and I was like not really enthused. Like I liked everything that I read, but I felt like I should have chose something different. So it was like a mixed feeling reading month. But I did mostly read some really really fun things. So let's get into that. I am filming this a little bit early, so you'll the end of this video I might be in like a different shirt because I'm still in the middle of reading two books. But yeah, let's get into it. First book that I wound up finishing reading was Perfectly Misunderstood by Robin Daniels. The book that I got chosen for to be on a tour for. It was also the fourth book in a series, and I hadn't read the previous books, but it was just like, a boy gets asked to tutor a girl, and there's like a love hate romance. But I really liked it. I thought that it was super, super fun. I think I was much more invested in the boy's side of the story than the girl's side of the story. And there's another book this month that happened as well. But I thought it was a really, really cute and fun read. The author gave me like a couple of fun facts for my blog post, which was earlier in the month. So go check that out if you want to see like her thoughts on the characters, because I thought that was like a cool way to do a blog post, and she did it for me on my blog. But yeah, I really liked it. I gave it like 3.5 stars, and I would definitely consider reading the other books in the series. But yeah, I wound up buying it on my Kindle just because I cannot read stuff on my phone. It gives me like a massive headache. And that's what the major problem I had with Family of Spies, which is the next book that I'm going to chat about. This was an Entangled read pick, and I had to read it on my computer and also on my phone, and I really did like it. It basically follows this character, and he's going on a Europe adventure with his cousins and his parents, but he winds up being constantly sucked back into the past trying to solve this mystery. So it's a little magical realism, but it was such a fun story. I just wish I didn't have to read it on my phone. And ironically, the author is thanking us for doing this tour by sending us a signed copy of the book. So I might actually wind up rereading the physical copy, and I'm sure I will enjoy it a lot better. But it was super, super fun. I would really like if we got more in this series when they've traveled to different locations, because I love travel books like that. But I gave it like 3.5 stars. It was so fun. I think it's only published in Canada, so if you buy it, you have to buy it from Chapters, which is why I couldn't go out and buy a copy myself, and it wasn't available on my Kindle. But if you're looking for kind of a fun book, maybe eventually it will get published here. But I thought it was really, really fun, but you can only order this one from Chapters. So that's a note. But I did like it. I gave it 3.5 stars as well. The next book I wound up reading was Anat Galleypick, and that was Love Song and Other Lies by Jessica Pennington. My friend Justin adored this book. I think it's like his favorite book of 2018. He loved it that much. I think I actually read it last year, to be honest with you. But he adored this book, and I really loved it. I love books that are told in dual point of view, like dual timelines. And it was basically following this girl, and she winds up going on tour with her best friend and her best friend's band. And she thinks she's there to do publicity, but that winds up not being the total case of it. But the one of the band members is actually her ex-boyfriend, and they have kind of a complicated history. So the book is told in present and past timelines, and you kind of get both sides of the story. I thought it was such a great summer read. Like, this was like the first summer read that I read really this summer, and I really liked it. And if you're were growing up in the 90s like me, and you watch like Making the Band and O-Town and all those types of shows, this was super reminiscent of that. And I just loved the lead characters. You got both point of views in both timelines, and I really enjoyed it. Wound up giving it like 4 stars. It was super, super fun. And the guy in this reminded me of my best friend when I was in high school, like the girl's best friend. And I just really, really found it to be a super fun read. I would highly recommend it for this summer because it was just adorable. And I hope Jessica Pennington writes more books in the future, because I will definitely be checking it out. The next book that I wound up reading was Daja's Story by Tamora Pierce. I have been steadily reading these books. It's a really, really long series, but I did really enjoy the first two as audio, so I decided to pick up the third book as physical, and I bought Briar's book on my Kindle. I really like this. I love getting in Daja's head. I thought the story was so interesting, and I loved learning more about Daja's culture, like the traders' culture. I thought that it was super interesting, a super fast-paced read. I'm really excited to see what happens in Briar's book, since this is like this series, this world is like set into 4 different series. So I'm definitely excited to read Briar's book. Hopefully, I can do it in June. My June TBR is pretty much still up in the air. I hope to have a better plan about it on going into Monday, so that's when I'm probably going to film that video. But I really did like the story, and I wound up giving it like 3.5 stars. The next book was inspired by Super Space Chick. She did a video talking about Ship It by Bretta London, and she said it's the perfect book preparing yourself to go to a convention. So I had to pick it up because I'm going to BookCon and Book Expo next week, and this book seemed like the perfect book to get me excited, and it really, really was. Overall, I really like this book. I gave it 4 stars. It basically follows this girl, and she is a big fan of a TV show. And it is a supernatural TV show, and there's 2 male leads, and she thinks that they should be in a relationship, and there's so much sexual tension between them. So she winds up going into a con, and she winds up going to a panel and winds up asking a question. And when the stars basically laugh off her answer, it causes a lot of hubbub online. And she winds up being asked to join the con crew to try to I guess placate the fans a little bit. And it was a really interesting read for me because I love to watch TV, and I'm super interested. And this came up a lot when I was in the Teen Wolf fandom because there was a lot of things with that between Styles and Derek. But it was really interesting because I felt like I didn't like each character at the start, but I think I grew to like them. It's definitely an LGBTQ novel, and it has a lot to do with fandom. And even though this is not my personal experience in fandom, overall I really did like it. I would definitely read more by Bretta London in the future. It was a really interesting read. If you want me to talk more about it, just let me know and I'll do a non-spoiler review. I didn't think I would do it, but if you do want, just comment below and I'll happily do it. If you guys want it, I might have to do it after BookCon. But I did wind up giving it 4 stars, and if you cannot go to BookCon this year or Book Expo and you want a fun con adventure, this is definitely it, and it is a LGBTQ focused romance. The next book I read was a super fast read, and that is Samantha Spinner and the Super Secret Plans. I learned about this on Alexa Loves Book channel because Mackie read it. It basically follows this girl named Samantha Spinner. When her uncle winds up vanishing, he winds up leaving them a couple of different items, and she is convinced that something has happened to him. One of the items he leaves her is an umbrella, and this umbrella kind of sends them on a trip around the world. And it was super, super fun. And also throughout, after each chapter, there is like a little part that goes into like a national monument, but then it also says like how this place is considered magical. I found this to be a super fun read. I wound up giving it 3 stars. I will definitely be passing this book on to the kids at the gym, and I will definitely be checking out book 2 whenever it comes out. But I found this to be a really, really fun read, and it was a super fast-paced read. I read a lot of big books this month, but this was definitely a fun read as well. Surprisingly, the book that took me the longest time to read, and it is a bestseller by Amie Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and I think it was pretty much my own fault because I was really determined to read and listen to this at the same exact time because the cast recordings are so fascinating, but I also love to read these the first physically, so it took me a long time to read this book just because of how I was reading it. Like, I had to be sitting down, reading it, and listening to it, which doesn't often happen in my life. I'm always on the move or have listening in conversations with someone, but I love this conclusion so much. I loved how the entire story wrapped up. I will definitely consider doing not a series review at the end after BA and BookCon is over, but I love this. I thought it was so well done. I cannot wait to see what Amie and Jay wind up cooking up together. I know that Jay has Lifelight coming out soon. I actually own a copy of it, so I will definitely be reading that soon. But I was really, really impressed with this conclusion, and it just made me smile. And this was the book that my friend Tiffany demanded that I read. So, Tiff, I got one for you done. Aren't you proud of me? The next book is also another pick from Tiffany. Tiffany, I told you, I really do listen when you tell me to read things. And that is Obsidian, which is start of the Luck series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. She has been literally getting me to read this, dying for me to read this book for about 4 years. I do listen, just really delayed. But it's like a paranormal story, and I don't read a lot of paranormal books, so it was more of like, all right, I have to read it. But I actually really liked it. I thought that it was really interesting. It basically follows this girl named Katie, and she's a book blogger. Hello. But when she winds up moving to a new town, she finds out that her neighbor is an alien, and it kind of sets her world off on its kilter. But I did like the world. I thought the world building was the highlight of the story. I really grew to love the main character. I will definitely be checking out book 2. This is a bind up, so I can probably definitely read book 2 really, really fast. It was a really, really fast-paced read. I love all the side characters. I gave it like 3.5 stars, and I'm hopeful that as the series goes on, I will really like it. And she says she really enjoyed it, and we tend to have pretty similar taste in books. So overall, I gave it 3.5 stars, and that is Obsidian and Onyx. Hopefully will be next. Readathon, which the vlog is posted on my channel, so go check that out. And I went up finishing Out of the Wild Night by Blue Ballot. This is defined as a ghost story, and that's really the only thing I'm going to say about it, because it was a really, really surprising read. I wound up giving it 3.5 stars, but it's basically told through the eyes of a ghost, and she's on this, and this book takes place on Nantucket. So you wind up following these mysteries, and this ghost winds up coming back to consciousness when her house is going to be torn down by demolition people. I don't really want to say that more because it was kind of a unique read and the ending really surprised me. But yeah, I don't want to say anything else, but it was a really, really fun read. It would definitely make a really fun summer novel or right around Christmas. I'm not Christmas, right around Halloween, because it definitely is a little bit creepy. If you have young kids that like are starting to get into creepy reads, this might be a really good starter story for them because it was creepy, but it wasn't terrifying. And I don't love scary stuff, and I really wound up enjoying this. This is also a book that you could actually definitely read again because once you see the twist or what happens at the end, I would want to go back and reread the story and see like, oh, that's how that happened. So yeah, so that's definitely, for this book was a fun read, and it was a fun book to read during a readathon. And then the next book that I wound up finishing was When Dimple Met Rishi by Sahanya Menon. I really wanted to read this before I read With Twinkle with Love, which is her book that recently came out. So this book follows a girl named Dimple and Rishi, obviously. And they are a Hindu family, and Rishi and Dimple's parents really want them ultimately to get married in the future. So when Dimple really wants to go to a summer camp, her parents and Rishi's parents decide to sign to set them up, and they both wind up going to this camp together. I will admit, like Perfectly Understood, I was definitely more invested in Rishi's side of the story, and I had to grow to like Dimple, but I thought that I really learned a lot about Hindu culture through these characters, and I thought that it was like really, really interesting. And I thought that it was set in the world of tech, which I know nothing about, but I wound up giving it 3.5, 4 stars. It was a really, really fun read. It was a long read too. I was definitely more invested in Rishi's side of the story, but I think I will enjoy From Twinkle with Love a little bit more because that's set more in like the entertainment industry. But yeah, so these are all the books that I've read now. I will be back in a couple of days where I tell you guys the rest of the books that I read. So let's see what I end up reading for the end of the month. Hi guys! It is now May 27th. And May 28th that week is the week that I go to BEA and BookCon. So I actually will be doing a follow-up wrap-up when I actually get home from BEA and BookCon and tell you what I read till in the last week of the month. But I want to give you guys what I finished reading after Dimple Met Rishi and until this date. So I wound up finishing reading Furyborn by Claire Legrand. Two queens will rise, one with the power to save the world and one with the power to destroy it. They carry your fate in their hands. I did receive this copy from Source Books for my honest thoughts, and overall I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars, and basically it's set in these 2 very different timelines. So you have one that is set 1,000 years in the past, one story that's set 1,000 years in the future. And you follow these 2 girls. You follow a Crown Pitch Riel, and then you follow Alina, and they are in 2 different timelines basically, and you're following them both, and in this whole thing you're looking for a good queen and a bad queen basically. And that's like the myth and that's the legend. And one queen will save the world and one queen will destroy the world. And I thought it was really interesting. It took me a while to become emotionally invested in the characters, and I think that's because the world was so complicated, and there was also like a tease at the start of the book where you're like, "Oh, what is going to happen?" I totally called it, but I really did like the world building. And I just thought the pacing sometimes was like a little bit off, and I like wanted the pace to go a little bit faster. But the last, like, this book is almost 500 pages. So like the last 200 pages I felt like really sped by. That's when the pacing really picked up in my opinion. But I definitely grew to like both these characters. And there's obviously, and I am using this for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, which is a book about a villain. And I'm still curious to see if the villain is who I think it is. I'll be curious to read book 2. I definitely really enjoy the character of Simon and hope that he gets fleshed out in book 2. But yeah, so in one storyline, there's this girl who is revealed to have all the magical infinities, which is not something that should happen. So she is sent through like a lot of trials to see if she's actually the Sun Queen. And then in the other timeline, it's about this girl named Alina, and she is on the hunt for women that are going missing. But their stories do interconnect in really unique and mysterious ways, and I really like it. And the first chapter, the teaser, really kind of gets you. You kind of like know, like, oh, this is how this is gonna go. But overall, I really liked it. I wound up giving it 4 stars. My friend Jen picked me up a signed copy because she went to the event by Claire Legrand at her local Barnes and Noble. But I really did like it, and I will definitely be checking out book 2, and I did get book 1 for my collection. Tomorrow's a little bit chaotic because it's the last day I'm home, and it is the day of my last readathon before BEA and BookCon. So I hope to finish Enchanted Air by Cinda Williams Chima. This is the 4th book in the Hair series and the first book in that series that I have not read. So I'm at almost 300 pages on this, and I really like it. I think that it's a really interesting story. Basically, you follow these 2 characters. One is Jonah and one is Emma. And you follow them, but you also do see cameos from Steph, from Jack, from Ellen, so from Madison, so from everyone else in the book story, but this is a totally different story, so I'll be really curious to see how it ends. Basically, there is someone killing wizards and some of them are on a hunt for it, and Jonah is like a very, very destroyed character, and you find out more about him. But I definitely like it. I like how it definitely like expands the world, and definitely does not limit it. But I do love the new characters, and I'm curious to see how this series will end so I could finally move on to the Exiled Queen series, which I have been dying to start. So that's all the books that I read so far this month. I will be doing the last part of the month after I get home from BEA. I also am still reading Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I think I just hit the 7-hour mark, and I think I have like 11 hours left. It's a really long audiobook, but it's definitely getting interesting, and I'm definitely like engaged in the story. So I'm really excited to finish that, and also hopefully tomorrow I can finish this. I honestly have no idea what I'm going to read for the rest of the week. I'm kind of just going to play it by ear. I'm in the mood for some contemporary and some middle grade, and that's probably going to be what I'm going to wind up picking up. But when I come home, I'm going to recap up until Sunday, and then my June TBR or my June wrap up will start after I come home, just because I honestly have no idea what I'm going to pick up. But let me know in the comments if you're coming to BEA and BookCon, if I should keep a nose out for you. I will have several giveaways going on when I'm there, so make sure you guys watch that video. I think it will be a like set that this video is going to go live on I think Tuesday, and that video is going to go live on Wednesday. So make sure you guys follow me and come find me at the convention, and I have some fun bookmarks to give away. So make sure you come see me, and I'm so excited to do my TBR for June. I'm sure it will be filled with many books from BEA and BookCon. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.